everyone, it's Susan back here from Slangela Designs. I know it's been a while, but as I mentioned in previous couple of lives, I was bringing back the tutorial for the next steps in the ABC alphabet blanket. You'll find that I have the link included in the description to the free PDF download, which includes the instructions, a tracking chart for you to mark off what rows you've got done, as well as the graph for the letters and everything. Okay, so what I also do, and I mentioned this in the live the other day, I just kind of blow up each section as I need it, because I find it easier, and then I can kind of write on it if I need to, just to remind myself where I'm starting, what row I'm on, and any little notes that I need to make. So you'll notice that this is a slightly different color than when we had started, because as I also mentioned, I don't know where I put that, the one we were working on for the tutorial. So I started over in, this is a Lion Brand Pound of Love, and I'm working it in the color Pastel Green. So still a number 4 weight yarn, super soft, machine wash and dryable, which we love for baby stuff. So Pastel Green, I have 2 balls of the Pound of Love. Now we are going to pick up right where we left off. So we're going to be starting on row 18 because we stopped on 17. So this, we're going to try to cover row 18 to 29 in this one, which will get us past the row of the full row of puff stitches, because I want to show you a little trick with that one and what helps me. So without further ado, let's just jump right into this. Okay, so we're on row 18, which is working our way across on the right side. So we're going to, because we're still working on the XYZ row of the letters, there is nothing in the bottom right corner or the bottom left corner. So we're just going to single crochet, and I'm going to kind of go on the fact that at this point you know what the single crochets are. Let me just get this easier into frame here. So you're going to work across until you get to where you should have your first puff stitch, which is the delineation of the square, the block. So we'll just cruise along here. Oh, and as a reminder, I'm using a 5.0 millimeter hook. There is no specific gauge to this. This is just basically the hook size that the yarn recommended. And I find the Lion Brand Pound of Love is more on a lighter weight for. It's a little skinnier, it's softer too, so works up really well for a baby blanket. So we're still going along here with our single crochet. All right, so we're coming up to where we're going to need to do our puff stitch for the first part of this, our first one. So this is where we're going to be putting in our puff stitch, because we want it to line up with our other existing ones, because this is what's going to make the block. So yarn over, put your hook in, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, repeat that, put your hook in, pull up a loop. So that's 2, a 3rd time, and a 4th time. And you are going to find that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 loops on your hook, which is what you want. Not a whole lot of room left on my shaft of my hook here, but depending on the type of hook you're using, you might be okay. So then you're going to yarn over, pull through all but 1. So then you're left with 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through the 2, and that is going to anchor your bobble or popcorn stitch. Now what we want to do is we're going to work across to where the next puff stitch is going to be in our letter Z, which will be 1 over from our previous one. So when you go to move on from your puff stitch, don't forget you're going to single crochet, but pull that a little tightly to snug it up so that it forces the bobble towards the front. So then we're going to single crochet, going to keep going. And we're coming up. I'm going to slow down here. So this one, if you can see, the one right above it would be here, but we want to go to one over, which would be this one here. So I need to do 2 single crochets, and that should bring me into the spot where I need to put my next puff stitch, which is the yarn over, hook in, yarn over and pull up your loop, 2, 3, and 4. Then yarn over, pull through all of them but 2, the last one. Then yarn over, pull through those 2 again. Oh, don't lose it. All right, saved it. So then we're going to yarn over and go through the last 2 to complete the puff. Then I'm going to single crochet across till I get to the next straight row of puff stitches. And again, when I do the next single crochet, I'm going to kind of snug it up so that it forces the bauble to stay towards the front and gives it that nice definition that you want. We're going to keep going because that's all we had to do for the letter Z part. This yarn keeps splitting. I never had this problem up until now. All right. So we will keep going until we get to the next puff. My yarn just fell on the floor. Happens to the best of us. It's a big ball, so it's kind of hard to maneuver a little bit. All right, so then we are back to having, we're at the empty stitch right above the puff stitch. We're going to put our next puff stitch in there. So again, yarn over, hook goes in, yarn over, pull up a loop, and we're going to do that 4 times. 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, pull through all but the last. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we're moving on to the Y. Now the Y is going to have 2, and because we're working on starting to have the Y go out on a diagonal, we're going to single crochet across. Same idea as what we did with the Z or Z. We are going to put, so the one we did below would line up right here, so we need to go to the one to the right of it. For the one over here, we don't want to go in right above it, we want to go to the one to the left of it. So I'm going to put a single crochet in the next stitch, give her a little pull, and we're going to work our way across until we get close to where we want to be. Again, just all single crochets. If it's not a puff stitch, it's a single. All right, so one more. This gets me to the one next to where the previous one was. So again, yarn over, hook in, pull up a loop 4 times. 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, pull through everything until you get to the last one. 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through those 2. Then we're going to anchor it by snugging it up in the next single crochet. We're going to single crochet 3 more, because that will bring us to the one to the left of the one below. So again, 2, 3, 4. Need some yarn pulled off the ball here. Then we're going to yarn over, slide that through till we have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through the last 2. And then what we're going to do, single crochet in the next, give her a little tug to tighten it up a little to help with that definition of the puff stitch. I'm going to keep going. I really need to haul some more yarn off here, and I have it wrapped around my chair now. All right, let's see how that goes. All right, so keep going here. We're coming up to the vertical row of puff stitches. So we're going to do a next puff stitch in there, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, pull through until we have the 2 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through all those 2. Now for the X, same idea as what we were doing with the Y. We're going to want to not go directly above the puff stitch here in this stitch. We want to go to the one to the right for this one. For this one, you want to go one to the left, because we're going to make that, start making the extension out. So again, for after we just finish the puff stitch here, single crochet in the next one, give it a bit of a tug. Oops. Work our way across. Okay, so I have one more to do. So now I'm going to put my puff stitch in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, pull through everything until you just have the 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. Then we're going to single crochet, 1, 2, and 3. Then we're 1 to the left of the previous one so that we can make that angle out. And we're going to put our puff stitch in there. Yarn over and pull through them all but 2. And then we're going to single crochet until we get to the last vertical bar. Don't forget to snug it up in between the popcorn stitch and the next single crochet so that you get that nice definition. We're coming up to the row here, and then we're going to put our puff stitch in right above the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, pull through everything till the last 2 left on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, and then we're going to single crochet until the end, because there's no letter in this corner square. It's just the way the pacing and the way the letters worked out. Alright, so because I know I went over in detail and we did a few rows working our way back in the previous videos, what I'm going to do is when I get to the end of this row here, I keep wanting to say round because I was doing something in the round earlier. When we get to the end of this row, I'm going to work my way back across off camera, because all that is, and I'll remind you because it has been a while, and single crochet in the last one, is, so that ends row 18. So don't forget to mark it off on your paper. So you would turn your work, chain 1, and single crochet in each stitch across. Straightforward, just plain old single crochets. All right, so I'm going to pause and I'm going to do my row of single crochets just so this doesn't make the video, 3 hours long. If you need to go back, you can go to one of the previous tutorials to do with the other rows for this, where I do kind of show you the first few times the single crochet straight across. But we're going to just do plain old single crochet across till we get to the other end. Then I'll meet you back here and we'll do row 19, or sorry, row 20, which is the last row of the puff for the letter. And then we'll work our way up so that we can get to the full row of puff stitches, which finishes off that section of the block. So work your way across and I'll meet you back here in a second. Okay, so I made my way back across, just doing the single crochets along the wrong side. So now for row number 20, which is the last row for the letter, we will continue to work on the verticals for a few more rows, and you'll see what I mean here. So we're going to chain 1 and work our way across the stitch right above the previous puff stitch with just single crochets. All right. So just work your way. Careful with your tension because you want to try to keep it as even as possible. All right. I think this color actually shows up better than the previous gray. And this is a bit more gender neutral too. Nice lime or light green, light pastel green. All right, we're getting towards our first puff stitch of the row. Keeping going with those single crochets. All right. So here we are to the puff stitch. Puff stitch. So we're going to yarn over, hook in, yarn over and pull up our loop 4 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 for 9 loops on our hook. Pull through the 8, which leaves you with your 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now, for the letter Z, we're going to work our way across, and much like the previous row for the puff stitch, we're not going to start right above it. We're going to go to 1 stitch to the right is where we're going to start this row for that puff stitch. I don't know why I have trouble saying that. Puff stitch. All right, so we're going to single crochet, give it a little tug to tighten it up, give that puff stitch, give that puff, I'm just going to call it puff, give the puff its definition so it stands out and stays at the front of the right side of the work. All right, we're getting there. Now for this final row of the letter Z, we need to repeat what this row was, but going this way. So what we're going to do is not here, but in the one to the right, we're going to put our first puff, 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, pull through the 7, and then yarn over, pull through the 2. Then we're going to single crochet to anchor that puff down. Then we're going to go back in with another puff. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, pull through, 2 loops left on your hook. Yarn over, pull through those 2. I just need to get, the puffs are a bit of a yarn eater, so you're going to find yourself pulling off some yarn from your skein fairly often. All right, so then we're going to do a single crochet in the next to anchor that one down. Then we're going right back in with another puff. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over and pull through all of them but the last one. Leaves 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. Then we're going to single crochet. And then we're going to go in with our last puff stitch, puff for the letter Z. There we go. So now we're going to single crochet until we get over to the vertical row. Always remembering after a puff to tighten up that single crochet to give it that definition. Because you're putting the work in, you want to have it, the little puff stitches stick out and stay where they need to be. All right, so we're over to the vertical. So again, straight above, right above it, we're going in with that puff stitch. 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, pull all but the last one. Yarn over, pull through the, oh, look what I did. Let's try that again. I find sometimes you can't just try to salvage. You have to just start the puff again. There's a cat hair in there. No charge for those. All right. So then same idea as the last row for the Y. We're going to go one to the right and one to the left so that it does makes the V shape kind of thing. So single crochet across, we're getting near where we need to be to put in that puff. All right, so then we're going to go in with a puff. So 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, pull through all but the last one, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we're going to single crochet over to the one to the left of the previous one. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So then put our puff in here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to single crochet until we get to the vertical row again. The single crochets go fairly quickly. All right, we're just about there. Okay, so again, directly above the previous, because we're on that vertical bar, directly above the previous one, we're going to put our inner puff, 2, 3, and 4. Now, same idea for the X as we did with the Y, and on the previous row, let me put my hook in there so I don't lose my puff. We're going to go one to the right, one to the right here, and one to the left, so that we can complete that symmetrical X shape. Okay, so again, we just finished our puff. We're going to do our single crochet with a nice little tug to tighten that up. And the thing is, it doesn't make it tight on the back. That's the important part. It doesn't make a pucker or anything like that. It just brings that puff stitch forward so it sits where you want it to be to give you your design and the definition. Okay. All right. Here we go. So we're where we need to be. We're one to the right. Put our puff in. Single crochet and give that a little tug. And now we're going to go one past, so one to the left of the previous one. 2, 3, 4. And then that finishes off the X, and we're going to do our single crochets until we get to the last vertical row. All right, so we're right above where we need to be. So what we're going to do is put our puff in there. And then for the rest of the row, we're going to do our single crochets, always remembering to tighten up that first one after the puff to give it the definition and make it stay where we want it to. I know I keep saying it, but it's important because trust me, if you miss one of them, it potentially can make the project have one little spot that's going to drive you crazy and not look as defined, or it might look a little wonky because it may not be sitting towards the front as much as you want it to be, and it may not sit the way the rest of them are, so it kind of stands out. So it is important, so I'm going to keep reminding you as we're doing those puff stitches. Alright, we're coming to the end of this row. Then I'll show you what it looks like in a second here. All right, so that's the end of row 20. Mark it off on your sheet. So then, as you can see, we have the X, the Y, and the Z. All right, so now, again, I'm going to pause while I work the row going backwards, which again is just straight single crochet. And I will meet you back here for around 22, and I will show you how to do that one, okay? Because there's not going to be anything for the letters. We're going to, for the next little bit, until we get to where we want to do the full row, it's just going to be the vertical bars. All right, so I'm going to put you on pause. You do the same, and I'm going to go do my row backwards on my wrong side to get back to where we want to be, and I'll meet you back here in a second. Okay, so I worked my way back across, and now you can kind of see a bit more of the how the single crochets will make the letters pop out a little bit better. So for row 22, we're going to basically do like we did before, but we don't have any letter work to do. We need to just focus on the puff stitches for the vertical rows. So I'm going to chain one and do my single crochets across to the vertical. Sorry if you can hear I don't know if it'll come through in the video. My son is online with friends, and it sounds like they're having a great old time. They're in there laughing, playing their games. So I'm working the single crochet across, not worrying about any letter puff stitches because we are done with the letter for this section. So now we're just going to keep working across, and for this row, as we work on the verticals, I'll show you for this, and then I'll when we get to the end, I'll explain what I want you to do before we pause the video to get some stitches done off camera, and I'll explain to you what I want you to do. So we're going to keep working across here to our first vertical row of stitches of puffs. All right, so the next stitch is right above where I want to be. So I'm going to go in with my puff stitch, finish that off, single crochet across to the next vertical row, never forgetting that first single crochet after the puff to give it a little tug just to make sure it's nice and secure, to bring that puff stitch out to the front. All right, super important. All right, so we're working our way across to the next vertical row. Again, no letter work puff stitches to be done. We have finished off the letters for X, Y, and Z. All right, we are now at the next vertical one. So you can see how those make it nice and the letters pop out. They're very distinct. All right, put in our puff. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, next single crochet, give it a nice little tug, tightens that up. I got a split piece of yarn here, just a second. There we go. And now we're gonna just keep working across to the next vertical bar, vertical row of puff stitches. So these parts tend to go quickly. You only tend to need to have not a fair bit of focus, but enough focus to keep, so that you can keep track of where you're at with your letters, which is why I really like blowing up the section I'm working on, so I can write, you know, letter starts at 13th stitch, last row. You know, I have little comments in the tracker that I provided on the website. Like if you look, I'll have here like the last row of the letter, and then this is the full puff when the letter starts. So it's a help. And then this is why I say when I blow it up, it's 27 stitches. The 28th is where your vertical row starts. Letter Z, when you start on this row, it started at the 11th stitch. So I knew there, and the start of the Y was at the 13th. It just helps you keep on track of where you're at. So everything lines up how you want it to, so that the pattern works out for you. And the letters end up being centered in each section. All right, so again, I need more yarn. Bit of a yarn eater, these puffs, but that's okay because it looks really good at the end. All right, so we're gonna go with our puff. Single crochet in the next one, give her a good tug, work our way with single crochets over to the next vertical row. By the time you're done with this blanket, you'll be able to do single crochets in your sleep. There's so many of them. But it really does help give the definition to the pattern, to have the letters stand out really well too. And that's important. Okay, we're coming up to the last vertical row. All right, and there we are. The next stitch is the one right above where we want it to be. So we're going to go in with our last puff of the row. 3, 4. And then single crochet, give it a tug, and work your single crochets till the end. And I'll show you what this looks like and where we're at and what we need to do to get to where I want you to get, where I'm going to pick up at. Getting towards the end. We'll see where we're at. I need more yarn. All right, one more. All right, so we're at the end of that round, or row, sorry. And again, it's giving even more definition of the letters. So that finished row 22. So for row 23, you're just going to work your single crochets on the way back. Row 24 is going to basically be a repeat of the row we just did. You're going to do your single crochets up until the vertical row, get your puff stitch into the one right above it. You're basically going to repeat the row we just did, okay? There's not going to be anything involved with letters. You're just going to single crochet, puff stitch, single crochet, puff stitch, single crochet, puff stitch, single crochet, puff stitch. And then you're going to work your single crochets back on the wrong side. So I need you to do row 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. I'm going to meet you back here for row 28, where we're going to do the full puff stitch, which will delineate the bottom sections. You'll see what I mean. So rewind the video to, if you need help with the row we just did, just go back to where row 22 started. Again, single crochet the puff, single crochet the puff for the vertical rows. Then just single crochet back on the wrong side. You're going to repeat that until you get your check marks off, and then come back. I'll be back for row 28, okay? So it'll be pretty straightforward. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. So at the end of row 27, this is what your work should look like. Oops, I just took my hook out and here pulled out my yarn. This is what your work should look like. So you've got your two corner squares that don't have any letters, and then you got your vertical columns and your X, Y, and Z. Okay, so now here's what I want to tell you about row 28, because row 28 is going to be our full row of puff stitches. So because we want it to be lined up with the one we have here, I always look at the first section, and I know that this one here lines up with my vertical row. So I'm going to single crochet, puff, single crochet, puff, single 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 puff, single. So I know that when I get to this vertical row, my puff is going to line up. So I'm going to chain one, single crochet in the first stitch, puff stitch, in the next one, then we're going to do our single crochet in the next and give it a tug to anchor, puff, single crochet to anchor. And this row does eat up a lot of yarn, so 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet. And you don't have to count from each section. It's just from this one on, just so you can get your foundation going. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because once you got the first one lined up, everything else should kind of fall into place. One, 2, 3, and 4. And just by counting and double checking, it saves you a bit of headache if you get towards the vertical row and you're like, that's not going to line up. You don't want to have to rip back everything you've done to the first of the row and start over, if you can help it. So 3 and 4. Then we'll do our single crochet, give it a tug, don't forget. 1, 2, 3, 4. Single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Single crochet. Or I'm getting ahead of myself. Single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Single crochet in the next one, and that should bring us right in line. I need more yarn here. right in line with the vertical row, which was why I wanted to just double check to make sure. So you're going to keep working across to the end of the row, alternating your puff stitches with your single crochet all the way to the end, okay? So this row is a little bit more time consuming because there's a lot more puff stitches, but this will wrap up this section. So I'm going to put myself on pause and work the rest of the row off camera, and I'll meet you back here to see where we're at. Be right back. Okay, so, oh, my hook's getting away, and let me just put it in here. Actually, I'm going to put a stitch marker to hold that on the off chance the hook comes out. All right, never hurts to put a stitch marker to keep your yarn from coming out. All right, so it was important that we count it from the first vertical row back so that we knew that we started with a single crochet and alternated puff, single, so that when we got to here, it lined up. Once we knew that this one was going to work, the rest of them should all just fall into place, which they did. All right, and you'll see that as we went across my next vertical row, the puff lined up with it. Same with the next one and the next. All right, so, and then at the end, it finishes with a puff and a single to lock it in place and give it that definition. So that finishes us up to the end of row 28. And now don't forget to mark it off on your tracker so that you know where you're at. And so for the next video, we'll start at row 29 and work our way up some more. If you're just catching up, feel free to go back and watch some of the other videos. I am going to be putting out the rest of the tutorials in sequence, so they will be coming. Don't worry about that. All right, so now that we're back into the swing of things, so this is your first section of letters, the X, Y, and Z. And lovely definition, super soft, and we will pick up from where we left off in the next video. So I hope this was fairly straightforward, and if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section and I will gladly get back to you. Or if you want, every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock Atlantic, I will be doing a live for about an hour. You can always come and pop in the chat and ask your questions there. But otherwise, that's us up to the end of row 28. So I hope you enjoyed it. Take care and happy crocheting, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye.